One of the men that had a tremendous impact on my early life was William Pell. He and his 6 sisters lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They were involved in Rest Haven Homes, a retirement community for Christians, and in Gospel Folio Press. And they were the publishers of the Choice Cleanings Calendar and Uplook magazine, and I was privileged to work along with them in the early days in that ministry, in my early days, not certainly theirs. But Bill was always sharing the gospel. He was always reaching out to people and very unassuming about it. He assumed everybody lived like this, and many of the stories that he had to tell, he didn't think they were terribly unusual. He thought they should be commonly experienced by God's people. But I think of one story in particular. He told of traveling by bus. He was traveling from Detroit to Grand Rapids, and in the segment from Lansing, the bus was completely packed, and he was standing up, and in front of him was a man, and in front of the man there was a woman, and the woman was smoking one cigarette after the other. And the man said to the woman, "Lady, if you keep smoking like that, you're going to kill yourself." And she said rather flippantly, "Well, you only die once." Well, Bill couldn't let that go. And so he said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I don't know if you're interested or not, but I have a little book in my pocket that tells me that you can die twice." She said, "Is that right?" He said, "Yes, ma'am." He said, "Are you interested?" And she said, "I am." And so he took his testament out of his pocket, and turning to the book of Revelation, chapter 20, he read these words, "And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were opened, and another book was opened, which was the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to his works, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death." By this time, the bus was completely silent. Mr. Pell said this woman had a kind of raspy, whiskey voice, a rather deep, penetrating voice, and she said, "Let me see that." And he handed his testament over to her, and once again now, to a completely silent bus, she read the whole thing aloud again. As she handed the book back to him, he said to her, "Ma'am, I can't leave you like that. This same book tells me that you can be born twice. And if you're born twice, you'll only die once." And he turned to John chapter 3 and read the story of Nicodemus. "You must be born again," said the Lord Jesus. And quoting those beautiful verses in John chapter 3, verses 15 and 16 and 17 and 18, he explained to the woman that the Lord Jesus did not want to condemn her or anyone. He wanted to save them. And there on the bus, he had the privilege of proclaiming this glorious message that if you're born twice, you'll only at the most die once. What a remarkable story. I wait to see some of those people in heaven someday. And what a wonderful privilege it is for us to take opportunities like that, to ask for boldness. Remember the Apostle Paul, who we would consider to be a very bold man, twice in Ephesians, he asked the Christians, "Pray for me that I'll have boldness." We need to be bold today to speak the truth of God, but to speak it in love. Grace and truth came by Jesus Christ.